Hey guys, coreross and welcome to 6 News. So today we're going to go over potential leaks for Rainbow Six Siege Quarantine. Quarantine is the spin-off from Rainbow Six Siege. It's going to be a 3-player cooperative game and it's going to be a standalone game. Now we haven't heard much about this game since its initial announcement trailer, and that was pretty much it. Since then the only announcement we've got is that it was delayed alongside every other Ubisoft game. However, Quarantine has not been delayed by much. It should actually make it out at the beginning of this year, as the CEO of Ubisoft said that it's still planning to be coming out before the new fiscal year starts, and that's in April. So it's more than likely that Quarantine will actually launch this year, around about perhaps March. That would maybe give them a good showing off at the 6 Invitationals for February, perhaps. But anyway, that's you up to speed on all the official Rainbow Six Siege Quarantine news. Let's move on to these leaks that look very, very interesting. And these leaks were posted by ex-Hardrocker on the Rainbow Six Reddit. There will be a link in the description below. Now before we get into breaking this down, we're going to go over some of the stuff that shows that this could well be a complete and utter fake, or something that's been made for a school project or stuff like that. So first up is the Hibana picture. This is the old profile picture that Hibana was launched with, and is still in the asset pack that you can download for Red Crow, so it's completely out of date. And for official use, it should definitely not be this old picture. It should be a more up-to-date version. So that definitely is a bit of a highlight that this could be a fake. We also have a picture for the recruit here, and if you actually Google search Rainbow Six Siege recruit, this is the third picture that shows up, and it's a concept for a redesign to Rainbow Six Siege's recruit. Now Rainbow Six Siege has used fan designs in official artwork, so it's not unheard of, so maybe this could actually be the case. But certainly it's another thing that puts a potential nail in the coffin for this being a fake. But anyway, let's move on. So I'm going to start with this picture first. All these pictures are low quality, so we're not going to be able to read any of the text, which might be, of course, hiding the fact that this is a fake that someone's put together. But let's go through it and have a look. So first of all, we've got loadouts. So we've got the, of course, primary weapon, secondary weapon, and secondary gadget. And it looks to be very much the normal. We have all the guns from the operators that are going to be in Outbreak according to this leak. We also have the secondary gadgets like impact grenades, deployable shields, frag grenades, barbed wire, breaching charges, claymore, smoke, flashbangs, and nitro cell. So no surprises there. Then we have the recipe of Quarantine, which is basically what we already know officially, which is that it's a tactical FPS, it's cooperative, it's replay, and it's tension. Now that makes no surprises because of course we already know it's cooperative. The replay part is that this of course will be a game service. It won't be just a standalone one-play game. You'll be coming back to it over and over again, and they want to make it so that you stick around, just like Siege. You just come back and you play more and more. And of course tension makes sense. It's a kind of horror game setting. Then we have tactical, which is OPA. That stands for observation, plan, and action. Now the observation I would expect could be either sneaking in and have a look around, or using drones to take a look around and get an idea of what the problem is that you're up against. Then of course you've got the plan. Now this is interesting. It shows a radio menu, which we don't have in Rainbow Six Siege, and I would guess if this is for planning, either there's two ways to look at this. It could be a top-down view where you actually plan out your mission with your friends, or it could be a new pinging system in order to ping more specifically, like say reinforce this wall, or move here, or defend here, stuff like that. And if that's the case, that could actually end up making its way into Siege eventually, so I'm actually quite excited about that. Then of course we've got action, which would be of course attacking or doing your objective or whatever part there is to this game. Then to the right of that we have the gameplay loop. Now this is exactly what I would expect Ubisoft to say, and it totally matches up to what I would imagine this game is going to be all about. So we'll come back to that later because we've got a better picture of that, but that's the most convincing part for me so far. Now going on, we've got the progression. So this is a count progression. It looks like you can go from 0 to 100%. Don't know if that's completion of the game, so maybe doing all the missions on the hardest difficulty, doing all the side missions, and getting to that 100% completion, or if it's also just a level up system for your account. Below it we also have operator leveling, which is 1 to 10, and I would guess this would unlock uniforms and cosmetics and other stuff like that. Then we got the region quest. So we've got New York City region, which is very, very interesting. We've got feats of arms as well. That could be weapon challenges and stuff like that, doing certain things with weapons, so that would be quite good. And certainly a lot of that could be into the gameplay loop where you go back in order to complete more and more challenges. Then on the bottom left we've got customization and MTX. Now I'm not sure what MTX is, But we can see that in the customization, it looks like we've got weapon charms, weapon skins, headgear, and I'm guessing below that might be like uniforms or stuff like that. So customization of your character. And of course, I wonder if there'll be additional things you can customize that we can't do in Siege, and maybe they'll get added into this quarantine game as an extra layer of customization. Now let's move on to the next picture. So in the second picture, we actually have the operators that will be present in Rainbow Six Siege Quarantine, and they're split into Assault, Recon, and Support. So for Assault, we've got Sledge, Chanka, Smoke, Nomad, Zofia, Ying, and Hibana. Then for Recon, we've got Lion, Vigil, Alibi, Pulse, Jackal, IQ, and Echo. Then for Support, we've got Ella, Finka, Doc, Gridlock, Rook, Jaeger, and Fuse. But let's move on to another picture. So this gives us our enemies. This is pretty interesting. So we've got Tissue, Carapace, Nests, Hosts, and Territory. So very, very cool. That picture for Territory looks really familiar. I don't know if it was potentially concept art that I've seen for Outbreak, or if it's something that is brand new that just kind of looks familiar to me. Then we've got our enemy types, which is split up into specimens from tier 1 to tier 4. It looks like we have some very familiar hostiles that we had in Outbreak. So I can definitely see the Grunt in there, the Breacher, the Rooter, the Apex, and the Smasher. However, there also appears to potentially be one more that I haven't seen before, but could be wrong there. Then we've got Elites, which I'm guessing is probably harder versions of our current specimens. Then we've got nerve clusters, which I guess might be something you can destroy to weaken the enemies. And we've got a transmission core, which again, maybe that's something similar. You blow that up and that will, reduce the enemy difficulty or something in a certain area, something like that. Not entirely sure, but that's my guess at this point. Then at the bottom we have our gameplay loop. Now this is the most convincing part for me, because if you're a fan and you're trying to make a fake for this, it just doesn't make sense for me that person would go ahead and make a gameplay loop. It just doesn't make any sense, because that is something a developer would do. They would be like, here's our new game, here's the gameplay loop, it's awesome, we can go in and do this, and then you can do it again, and you can do it again. It's like, alright, yeah, very exciting. And it just totally reads as that to me when I look at this. So this is definitely, to me anyway, much more developer-y than someone making a fake. And it looks like you get your ups, you go in, you start your mission. If it doesn't work out and you fail, you go back out, you pick ups again, you go back in. If you succeed, then you get probably some sort of rewards, or it looks like you get some operators as well, potentially. Then you go and you make your way back to the start with like new gear or new rewards, and then you get your reset and it all starts over again, and you go through this gameplay loop over and over. And of course, this is a game that Ubisoft is of course hoping you will play for months and months and months, if not years, by coming back to it over and over again. And I expect there'll be DLC maps that they'll add in and all that, and maybe they'll add in more operators over time, stuff like that. Then we've got our missions. So our missions are separated into the main objectives. So main mission objectives are sabotage, disruption, escort, and hunt. And there's going to be secondary objectives, which is collect, scan, and defend, with quarantine rescue at the bottom there. That looks very much like a concept art for the original trailer for the game. So this looks quite legitimate as well. Really well made. If it's a fake, that's a really good fake. And then we've got the map structure. Now, without being able to read this text, it's very hard to figure out exactly what's going on here, but I kind of think this is probably a little bit like Outbreak, where you have maps that are split into different areas, but also interconnected to each other as well. So it could be you can move between different maps and also different sections between those maps in order to do different stuff. But without the text being readable, it's kind of hard to tell for sure. Either way, looks pretty cool, and this is a potential for them to go one up over Outbreak and make it very interesting, where you can move between a lot of different areas, so it's not too linear, and maybe have multiple options on where you can go and what you can do. Now we have our final picture, and this is very interesting. It shows our blueprint. So this is like the maps and locations within the game. So we've got the play go, which I don't know if that's just to represent, play the game, or if that's something else separately as well. But then we've got New York City, which is Liberty Island, Police Precinct, and Monolith Hotel. Now, Monolith Hotel is a place in New York. It's the Hilton, I think it is, that looks like a monolith. So that could be the location of that mission. Then we've got SFO, which is Mission District, Casino, and Foundation Space. Now, SFO, I'm not entirely sure what that is, but it could be San Francisco. You guys let me know if you know actually what that is. Then we have TRC, which could be Truth and Consequences, New Mexico, where Outbreak was set. And we can also see that there's a difficulty level for each of these. So New York is the easiest difficulty, so that's probably where the game will begin. We got SOF, which is 2 difficulties out of 3. And then the third one is the highest difficulty. And of course it's Hospital, something else, I'm not entirely sure, I can't quite read that, and Downtown. Then below that we've got the timeline. Now this is interesting because we know that this game is set a few years into the future of Siege, so the timeline should kind of show us a little bit after. Now I'm not sure it does. The timeline seems to show the capsule, I think, crashing. Then it looks like the initial infection. Something else, I'm not sure what that picture is. And then something else again, I'm not sure what that picture is. It's a dude or someone just standing there. Now that could be Patient Zero. And then the final one is Ash and Thermite probably turning up. And that's, definitely a picture from the cinematic. So that's them turning up to help stop this outbreak. So there really should be at least another panel, I would think, after that, where they kind of say 2 years later, blah, 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 this has happened since then. So it's kind of odd that it stops at what appears to be Outbreak and doesn't continue onwards. Although I guess we didn't entirely know when Outbreak took place. It might have already been in the future of Siege. So I guess they could just retcon that, and this could be a direct follow-on straight after the Outbreak that we've seen in Rainbow Six Siege. So yeah, this is very, very interesting. And like I say, if this is a fake, it's a really good fake. Someone's put a lot of time and effort into it, and a lot of thought into it as well. And also, it's got a very developer kind of aspects to it that I've kind of got used to seeing from Ubisoft. So to me, this totally seems very legitimate, but of course, it could be completely and utterly fake, and this will come to nothing. However, we have the 6 Invitationals coming up. I expect, because Quarantine needs to be out, or it should be out before April, then I expect that they're going to show this game off at the 6 Invitationals. And if that's the case, this could be a printed piece of material that they plan to give to fans or content creators that go to the event as an infographic for the new game. And I would be so very surprised if this doesn't show up at the 6 Invitationals as a piece of marketing material. But either way, it's freaking cool. If this ends up being the case, this is what Quarantine is going to end up being. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be something that will entertain me for a little bit. I don't expect to play it, as much as Siege, but I do expect to play it a decent amount. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of all this and whether you're convinced by it or not. And let me know your conclusions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.